shit, I like new bills. Hustling has become a habit that she can't kill. Fuck a silver spoon, Phoenix got a gold touch. Catch me in the room where bitches make their own luck. Looking for a man with $1 billion discipline, cause he understands money.
What's up, y'all? Thank you for tuning into another Musicians on Gigs Artist Spotlight episode. I'm your girl, Phoenyx Novelle, and today it is seriously my pleasure to introduce you to one of the most amazingly talented people that I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with myself. Now, I was actually in Thailand when I met Milo. I recently put up a profile on Fiverr, which is like a creative space for artists to kind of like intermingle and share their talents. And he reached out to me about putting a hook on one of his songs. I fell in love with the track, and it was called Can't Be Mad. Now, it never made it out there yet. At the time, I had a horrible microphone, horrible. And unfortunately, like listen, this guy is a professional, absolutely great at what he does. And he wasn't afraid to tell me, look, this isn't right. These vocals, the backgrounds could be better, And so I redid it, but I didn't do it to the best of my ability. So I'm still working on it, but eventually you guys will hear. Milo Evans Jr., he plays multiple instruments. He's an artist all around and one of the most inspirational people that I've had the pleasure of meeting. I consider him to be a friend. And finally, I've been able to get him on my platform. And hopefully you guys fall in love with his music just like I did. So I'm going to ask him a couple questions, and I want you guys to get to know him as well. And hopefully my fans and friends can become fans and friends of Milo. So you ready?
Okay. Yep.
Milo, he also goes by Ezra's Beats. And so when you do check out his original stuff, you might see that name as well on some of his advertisements, just so you know. All right, so we're going to begin. My first question for you, Milo, is where are you originally from?
I'm originally from the south side of Chicago.
Okay. How was it in Chicago growing up?
It was, I hate to put it on blast, but it was just rough, tough growing up in Chicago. Because, Chicago is that rough. It's a fast-paced city, so it's easy to get in trouble.
Okay.
So yeah, I grew up very rough, but I did grow up with some positive influence from the streets, to keep me motivated to stay in school, don't get out there selling drugs and all of that sorts.
Okay. And did you have a lot of musical outlets in your hometown?
Believe it or not, I did, but at the time I did not know. Okay. So I started discovering music outlets like at the age of 18, because it wasn't like I didn't grow up in a household where I was like exposed to a lot of different type of music. It was just pretty much soul music, old school funk, old school hip hop. But I wasn't like exposed to the different music that was out there.
Okay. Oh. So do you come from a musical family? Is there anybody else in your family who kind of like played instruments and got you into it? Or is this just
No, I don't come from a musical family. I come to find out that like my grandmother on my father's side, she listens to classical. I wouldn't classify that as that, but that was shocking. And other than that, no one in my family but me plays.
Wow. And how many instruments do you play?
I actually play a lot of percussions. I play like djembes, congos, bongos. I actually play the guitar. My first instrument was a violin, and then I play the piano or keyboard, organ, chord, whatever have it,
I did not know myself that you play so many instruments personally, but I think when you told me about your guitar, your acoustic project, I was like, whoa, dude, you are multi-talented, seriously. So what got you into beat making? Like what made you at the end of the day decide, I'm going to start making beats and putting them out there into the world?
See, this is what happened. When I came to LA, I met another producer, and he was like, I met him at like an event, and he was like, do you record music? I was like, no, I don't record music. Because he was like, dog, man, you real sick on them keys. Have you thought about putting beats with him and stuff? I was like, I don't even know how to make a beat. And then that's when he showed me how to use a MPC. It was a Kai MPC. Then he showed me how to use Cubase, New Window. And then that's when I started learning how to use FL Studio. And then now currently I'm using, can't see it back here, but I'm using like Machine MK3, which is convenient for me to, do the drumming and things like that.
Right. Okay. So now that's going to segue us into my next question. What was the genesis of you deciding to actually come and move to LA?
Well, it's a long story, but I'm gonna keep it short. I came originally to LA to actually study law because I used to intern at a law firm, a famous law firm. I don't know if using their name I might get in trouble, but it was just downtown LA on Figueroa, and I came there to do that. I didn't see myself doing none of this. Although on the side I was working with singers. I actually worked with a few famous singers. So,
Wow.
but just like on the side, so I don't know if using that name be appropriate, but yeah. So I had some studio sessions. So yeah, I was like a studio session musician and so forth on the side.
All right. I mean, listen, when I first met you, like I mentioned before, I was in Thailand and everything was over online and corresponding online. And I had no clue that I was going to wind up in LA. Oh my God. Was never on my list of places to be. And you happen to be here. Listen, it's going to be a year in April next week that I've actually been here. And I'm just starting to get my feet on the ground. The prices, I just can't wrap my head around the cost of everything. The earthquakes, I just can't wrap my head around the fact that people still live here. And these fires that just out of nowhere, I'm like, wait, what made you stay here for so long a time? And what made you decide, yes, LA is the place that I'm going to be?
What made me stay was it's the opportunity here. There's an opportunity to get into like everything. And then being here gave me like a sense of purpose. It helped me kind of understand where I want to go, where do I want to be. And it also gave me a sense of understanding who I am now as a person, as a man. Because before I came here, I was confused. And I'm not just saying that LA just fixed that. I'm just saying just being here, learning different things outside of Chicago helped broaden my perspective.
Okay. So you don't really find yourself kind of, like the cost of living compared to where you're from versus here. It wasn't something that really made you go like, what the?
Actually, it did. Because in Illinois, I'm used to like, you can get like a 2-bedroom for like $560 and utilities included. But Chicago is another story, but that's like outside of Chicago. But then in here, I found some cheaper places, but you just got to go out a little further of LA County and you can actually find some really reasonable places.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So now, what would you say your style of music is? Like, if you could even define it, do you find that you feel like you sound like a certain person or you're more connected to a certain type of music? Or do you find that you're like original and completely on your own path?
I feel like, okay, that's a good question. Okay, I'm going to answer that in 2 ways. I do feel like I am original. I have found my like original path, my creativity, because everything comes off the top of the head. When I'm playing, if I start a session, it's all improvisation. Every album I've created was all improvised. There was nothing written into anything. However, the other component is that because I am an eclectic learner, an eclectic of music, I just say that my music style is worldwide. Like I'm multicultural. So you can find me in culture. You can find me in pop. You can find me in reggae. You can find me in jazz because I also compose jazz. You can find me in neoclassical. So you can find me in like an eclectic, a variety of ranges of styles.
That's awesome. That's the place that I think is the most attractive to be, because you don't have to box yourself in. You don't feel like if you do something different, you're kind of pulling yourself away from the fans that are only happy if you do this thing. You're open to learn, and you're open to like constantly learn something different and grow in ways that actually allow your listeners to appreciate it because they can grow themselves through your music. That's like awesome.
Yes.
So, as a musician, what would you say your goals are? Like, what will you have to accomplish, if you haven't already, to make you feel like I've arrived, I've already made it, I'm here? What does that look like?
Okay, I'm gonna be slow with this one because goals for musicians is like very broad. It can go on for like ever, you know. But one of my goals for is making sure that my goal is attainable, and that's as far as what I want to achieve by creating and putting my music out there. And then my second goal is have a vision. Like when you're doing music, you definitely got to have a vision on where you want it to be, how you want it to sound. If you need mixers, if you need, engineers, if you need vocalists, like, so you can put it all together for the big picture. And then my other goals is learning music theory. Now, because I read and write music, I feel like as a producer and as a musician, some people play by ear, some people like audible learners, but I think that if you learn music theory, it can kind of help. It takes your music even further because you know how to write certain tunes in certain keys without having to rely on technology, that can just go out. And then the next one is listen to different styles outside of trap hip hop, outside of trap R&B, outside of EDM. Listen and open up your musical ear, so you can find something that inspires you. And then collaboration with other musicians. And then another one is teach others your craft. I come to find out that me teaching like students my craft opened me up to a whole nother level of musicianship because I'm able to learn from them, like the music that they listen to. I was like, wow, this is nice. Okay, now I'm listening to the artists that my students used to listen to. And go to concerts and build a network of other creators and watch, documentaries of other musicians, and kind of see how they became to be who they, once were in their lifetime and, and made an impact on the music industry.
Thank you for being slow with that, because I think that you are well on your way to accomplishing that goal. You are very diverse. And I think it was you, if I'm not mistaken, who actually introduced me to Billie Eilish. I know who the hell that was.
Yeah.
I was like, who? But you were talking about her and her brother and how they started and the whole concept of how they kind of like put their music out there. And I was just like, who the hell is this? And then I started learning about her, listening to her music and realizing, wow, damn, yeah, this is the music of today. And it's different, but different doesn't always mean that it's not good or, you can't learn from it. And thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your openness, because I probably would have never stumbled upon her and looked at her from this perspective of how can I relate to this artist? What can I find that I like about this artist, even though she's very different? But you should embrace those differences. And not that you have to sound like it, but we are musicians who want to have our music heard by people of today. So you have to see how you can integrate your sound into the pot as well by knowing what people are listening to. So I like that response. I like that. Do you have any I guess I'll ask you this. What was your best or worst experience? Because you're both a producer as well as an artist. What has been your best or worst experience in the studio with other artists?
Okay, my best experience is when you actually can get the sound right according to how they like it. and then also learning from the engineers. Because I don't have an engineer. I mean, I would love to pay one, but I just don't have a budget for it. But I spent years studying from another engineer. And being there gave me an advantage on how to, mix my music. Although some producers prefer you not to mix your music, I disagree with that. Because if you can't afford it, if you don't have a team, who's going to do it? So, and then the disadvantages and the bloopers in the studio is when a person was working on the same track for like 7 hours. That drove me insane because they were trying to get a particular sound, and it was frustrating to me because I'm ready to go to the next song because I work quick. I'm like, I need to go to the next. And I think those are like my issues working with other artists and producers that move to the next song in the next couple of hours. Don't make it an all-day process, but I do understand perfection.
Right. What about the quality over quantity mindset?
Quality, yeah. Gotta have quality. But for me, it's like, if you got people that know what they're doing, that have that qualitative sound to them and that quality to their craft, I think it would not be a problem. You can just move on really fast.
Right. Okay. Wow. This has been a very eye-opening interview for me. I knew you, but I didn't know you in such a very well-rounded way. I have one more question for you, if that's okay. And
Yeah,
this is a question in relation to up-and-coming artists, people who are not necessarily young, but people who are just kind of tapping into that musical desire that they have to pursue what we've been doing for a long time. What advice would you have for them to encourage them to stay on the path and reach for their highest potential as creative artists?
Oh, great question. Oh, I would say one of my the advice I can give up to musicians, to artists, is to make sure that your provisions align with your vision. And that means just simply having the right adequate means and tools that you need to accomplish your music. And then also don't be afraid to fail. I failed so many times on projects. And I'm now, as a musician, I'm now getting 300,000 listeners. And keep your momentum. Don't be afraid to fail again. But also, if you do fall or fail, keep your momentum and your optimism when everyone does not support your craft.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, that last part right there, not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to just kind of like, okay, it didn't work. That didn't work. I think you should be afraid to give up, because in those moments, it's easier to walk away because all right, I'm fine where I am. It's the uncertainty that we're afraid of that usually keeps us in analysis paralysis and remembering the past mistakes and things that didn't go right. And it's really good to hear it from somebody who is like in the game and pressing forward, because you didn't say it with a somber sound in your voice. You said it like, and it's part of the process. Right. Get up and keep it moving. And I think that's very important for artists to hear, because no, you're not going to be me. I'm not going to be you. I might not have grown with music and, in my veins and just a natural inclination to play. But the fact that I have a burning desire to try, you need to know that anything you want to do is possible, as long as you use the fuel and motivation of you wanting to do it to keep you going. Because that motivation and that desire is much stronger than the naysayers that are going to be there.
Yes.
They compare you, and again, I am so grateful for our meeting and for our connecting, because my next single is called She No Sleep. And ladies and gentlemen, Milo is the producer and creator of that track. And I'm very excited about it, because when I heard that track, when I heard his idea, and he makes thousands of tracks. So this probably, he's probably like, okay, that track, okay, cool. But for me, as a singer and songwriter, when you hear that track that makes you just like get up, it's not something that's like forgettable. And it means a lot to me. And I'm grateful that I was allowed to use it. And I'm grateful that you're a part of that project. So Milo, thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this interview with me.
You're welcome.
I know that you're on your path to accomplishing all your goals and dreams. And I am very inspired by your process and grateful to know you. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Milo, aka Ezra Beats. And I've included all of his social media links below so that you can check him out and get to know him and all of his amazing musical creative endeavors. Once again, thank you guys for tuning into Musicians on Gigs, Artist Interview Spotlight. And I will see you for the next artist interview. Peace.